Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, Doom Productions, home of the No Budget Film School, and today it's a rough one. It's a rough one. We're doing another Filmmaker Hangout. As you know, we've been going through chronologically and rewatching all of our old movies, at least what we feel are the standout greatest hits of those movies. You can find a playlist in the description below. And today we rewatched our first feature film made just after high school, in fact, a couple of weeks after we graduated from high school, called Great American Sleepover. The Great American Sleepover.
Yep. One and only.
It is rough, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard for us to watch it, but rather than unlist this video, rather than take this video down and make it private, we choose to leave this video up because I think it serves as a nice kind of educational purpose for where people start out.
Yeah.
You know, if you've subscribed to this channel, if you know us, I'm assuming you're fans of us, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you enjoy our films, I would hope. So, if you enjoy those movies and you watch Great American Sleepover, you'll probably say, ooh, this is not, I don't like this movie very much. And that's okay, that's normal, because everyone you like, every filmmaker you liked has made them, when they first started out, they probably made a bunch of bad stuff too.
Yeah.
And today we're just gonna go through the movie, talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it, share a little bit of insight on the making of it, and then we're gonna just pretend that this movie never happened. No, we'll move on to the next movie after that.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, walk them through, our viewers. When did we decide to make a feature film in high school? Do you remember when and or why?
Well, I remember when we were in production for what we were originally going to make. I don't remember the why, except other than just we were loving movies and we had been making shorts for about a year, a little over a year. And we were at this point where it's like, well, we've made a bunch of short films. We want to challenge ourselves. And so it was just kind of at this natural point where we knew we had a lot of free time because of summer. So we wanted to make a movie during the summer because we knew like we weren't working a ton and all of our friends were going to be kind of available to at least some capacity. So we wanted to get as many of our like high school friends in. So it's all those kind of reasons just made us land on the idea of we wanted to make a feature film. So that's what we did.
And the original film we were going to make was a very different story.
Yeah.
Still a story I would love to tell. It was called McFerrin Down, named after one of our good friends. And the premise of that was, it's essentially a heist movie, but set in a high school. So it was a bunch of kids, like nerdy kids, breaking into the cool kid party. I'd still love to do that.
Yeah.
But for many reasons, most of them being, I think, scheduling, the scope and the scale of everything.
Yeah.
We shot for 2 days on that movie.
We have parts of that movie still filmed.
We have 2 days of filming for that movie. And on that day, I was like, you know what? We can't do this movie. It's too big. There's too much going on. And we quickly decided, like, hey, we have to change gears really quick. And I think this movie, Great American Sleepover, is written... I wish I had my book with me, but oh well. I think it was written in a week or so, maybe.
Written with loose quotations because a lot of it was improvised as well.
Oh, the movie was written, but if you've seen it, there are chapters throughout. There's kind of a present day narrative that frames the whole thing, and then there's 3 flashback sequences. I think the very first one was actually scripted. That was all scripted. I mean, all of them were technically scripted, but we didn't shoot all of them because, again, the scope. I think this was a great lesson in 2 things making this movie. One was know what you can film, what you can't get away with, because in both of these scripts, we had written these huge blowout high school parties that were like, we'll find people eventually. Comes up to the week of shooting, and we're like, oh, wait, we don't actually know how to get people. We don't have that many people. We can't do this. We don't know
how to coordinate that many people.
So we had to quickly change the script. And then the other thing was, which was great of learning for me, was like, I think as a result, the whole movie suffered because there was no script. And it for me anyways, I mean, I know some folks they do use scripts and that work, or they don't use scripts and that works for them. But for me, I know that I work best with a script that is complete. So those are my main takeaways from shooting. But what are like your memories of shooting? What are some kind of standout kind of things to you? When you think back on this movie, making it, what do you remember?
I remember, I mean, big picture,
Yeah.
I'm going to work in. The movie at a certain point, felt very like real. Not necessarily like the things we literally did, but like, I think kind of because we're shooting this movie where that's like very nostalgic for your high school experience, right as we're graduating. So there was an easy connection point, I think, for all of us through the characters. So from an acting standpoint, it was very easy for us to like kind of plug into that mindset for at least part of it. And the acting, you know, we'll talk more about the acting in a little bit. But
Yes, we will.
In a broad sense, it was like really kind of fun and nostalgic. And so I'm very nostalgic towards the experience of shooting the movie. Maybe less like, I mean, I think we both can agree like this movie has a lot of shortcomings to it.
A lot.
To put it nicely.
I was going to say it's all short. No, I'm sure.
No. But it's like, yeah, it's just like I still look back on like the memory of shooting a movie all summer with your friends as a cool experience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of filmmakers can relate to the idea of like just wanting to shoot a movie with your friends.
Yeah.
Short or feature, doesn't matter.
It's one of those things where I think for the people who were involved, they probably have a stronger connection to the movie than like internet strangers who are just stumbling upon it and just watching and be like, "Ooh, this is bad." And it's like, "Yeah, we agree." But you weren't a part of making it, so we have this weird nostalgia, but also as like self-critical filmmakers, we're like, "Oh my gosh, I want to erase this from history."
Yeah. But when we were watching it, we were laughing throughout the whole movie. For a whole bunch of reasons.
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
The first pro, I think, the biggest pro is if you saw. What did we talk about this before? Oh, I might have talked about it in the Mr. Fiddle screenwriting session or something. Okay. In our comedy movies, as you'll see throughout the years, we have this thing called crackhead energy that we really like to shoot for, where things are really
chaotic.
There's lots of non sequiturs. It's absolute madness. Logic is thrown out the window. Physics is thrown out the window. Things don't make sense, and it's just chaos. Like orchestrating this chaos.
Yeah.
We like that kind of humor, and that's kind of the stuff we like when we were kind of the stuff we like watching. Whether that's that for you, that's just a matter of taste. But I think there are moments throughout Great American Sleepover that we see the seeds of that crazy, chaotic energy that took me by surprise, thinking, "Oh gosh, that was actually kind of funny. That worked." So I think that's a huge strength to the movie. I think I'll point out a standout moment.
Yeah.
One of them, and you can point out another one. But there's a moment where the four of us are pretending to shoot, like we're playing military, and we have like golf clubs and tripods, and we're pretending to shoot at each other. And you hear the sounds of war and violence and everything, and it's really goofy. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're like calling the chopper, and then we have a duck. Like a toy duck fly over us and drop a bomb, and we see an explosion.
Like a full nuclear explosion behind the house.
Yeah, and it's dumb. That might not make everybody laugh, but that's kind of stuff where it's like you watch it and you're like, wait, what just happened? Like where it's so random. That's stuff that we really enjoy and appreciate.
Yeah.
So I think the other jokes that we had constructed didn't quite work.
It was our wordy jokes that we had a hard time
The
with.
wordy jokes didn't work for many reasons, but I think those crazy chaotic energy, the crackhead energy stuff, I think that worked really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what can you add to our style of humor? How could you?
I mean, physicality, I think, has always been our strong suit. Like, I mean, we have, I think, grown a lot in our verbal humor for filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like making sure we know how to prepare those moments and let them land correctly. But the physicality, I think we've always had an easy time with, or using editing for jokes. And I think of the one that stands out to me right now is when we're plotting to break into the school district building.
Yeah.
And we celebrate for some discovery that we made.
So
we're on the ground, we're sitting, we're all dressed normally, we're just talking, and then all of a sudden when we celebrate, we jump up in the air, and all of a sudden there's a hard cut, and we're like in full party gear in the same space. And
it's like rave outfits.
Yeah, we're like fully, like again, physics go out the window, logic goes out the window. And that moment, I think, really worked for me, just in an editing standpoint, and like it made that moment hit better than it would have.
I agree. I think should we talk about the cons already with the humor or stuff like that, or should we just stay on the positives for now?
Let's stay on the positives.
Okay, let's stay on the positive, because there's gonna be a laundry list. Okay.
Yeah.
I think another positive is some of the casting.
Yeah.
Our good friend Bones, they did a really good job at the end of the movie when they're kind of having an emotional moment. The writing really is not up to par, but they are doing an awesome job.
Same with Wyatt. Wyatt's really bringing a lot to his character.
Wyatt, and I would say Travis and Ian and Quentin, the pizza guy. I think there's certain characters, and Jacob, of course, Pythagoras.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a handful of people in the movie who, whether or not the material was there, like they elevated it, and they like improvised, and they added so much to those characters that just made them funny. Honestly, like we have a lot of really funny friends, like Wyatt and Jacob. They're absolutely hilarious. You know, they just have that natural inclination to like make things funny and improvise and all that.
Yeah.
So a lot of Wyatt and Jacob stuff was improvised.
Like we would just give them a line, and they would take it and run with it, and we would just keep workshopping.
Yeah.
Like you would just be like, oh, they'd say something, and we'd be like, oh, say that again, or add this to it, or whatever.
Do you remember how we shot this movie, our schedule? I'm just remembering.
Tell me.
Because this was all improvised, we rehearsed on like a Monday.
We rehearsed?
We rehearsed days because it was all improvised. So we rehearsed the scenes.
That's right.
On like a Monday or Tuesday, and then like Wednesday or Thursday we would shoot them.
What a crazy.
Yeah.
We don't do that ever.
Rehearsing, we never. Well, what was the last? When did we rehearse?
Actually, we rehearsed just recently.
Did we?
Kind of.
What for?
Well, never mind. Video.
Oh, yeah.
But that was kind of same day rehearsals and a lot of it. So
I'm not counting same day rehearsals.
that's true.
Yeah.
Raise that smile then.
Our short film,
Yeah.
the sci-fi short film, we rehearsed for that.
That's true. That's the most recent time.
Okay, that's a whole tangent. We don't need to get onto that.
No.
Oh, the casting. Yeah. So some of the cast is great. I mean, we're friends with all the people, so like they're all our friends. Like,
Yeah.
like we like all those people in the movie. Like I mean, that's what's so great about it for us, anyways. Is like, oh, it's that person. Oh, it's that person. It's that person. Like that. It's just fun to see all your friends together in something.
And we like wrote their roles, all four of them, more or less. I mean, I think we've gotten better at that skill again the more we've done it, but we definitely like chose people, or at least for the main cast, for who they were.
I think another pro is some of the editing.
Well, how we edited was really weird too. Yeah. What we would do for how we edited this movie, which we've never done since, and
it was a terrible idea.
Super weird. What we would do, Jordan and I would each download the footage. We would edit each scene on our own. We had our own versions of this movie, and we would watch through and pick
like
whoever's
the best parts.
Scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, I really liked Jordan's scene for scene 12. We're using that in the final movie. And then, oh, if we liked my scene 13, we'd put that one in. And that's just a weird way to do it. I don't know how we came up with that.
I mean, hypothetically, that works if you're both on an Avid or Premiere and you can share the files, see each other's No. He was in Sony Vegas. I was on Final Cut Pro.
It was a nightmare.
It was, not the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think there's some, like, in the beginning where you're like, it's time to get the party started. You turn on the lights. There's like a push, like a snap zoom on like the lights. There's like quick panning shots. There's a couple of really fast, quickly edited scenes like that, or shot moments like that I think that actually
those come together really well.
They look pretty good.
Some of we started getting better at like whip transitions and stuff. Like that was something we were kind of practicing a lot at that point.
Yeah.
Just weird ways to transition. Again, kind of that Edgar Wright editing style we were just starting to really get into.
Yeah. What's another pro? Have we reached the end? We might have.
I think it might be time.
Hold on, let me see if I can, because we just keep on going and going on the negatives, I know that, but let's see if there's one more positive. You know what? Here's the biggest positive, I think. We all had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because when you're making a movie, it should be fun. It shouldn't be it is stressful all the time.
It will always be stressful.
It's always going to be stressful. But you should have fun. You should always have a good time. You should be with friends, hanging out. And that's what we did on the movie. Yep. And, don't worry if your movie sucks or not, as long as you have fun. That's what I'll say to any filmmaker out there. And if you watch this movie and you're like, that sucked, we agree with you. Yeah. The bar is very low. We just challenge you to do better, which is really, really easy. And we know you can do, so if you are a beginner filmmaker, just watch Great American Sleepover, be like, wow. I can do better because I know you can. And it's
And finish. That's the big thing. Finish. We finished our movie, even though it's definitely rough.
Yep.
So that's the other goal. That's just the bar is set at just finishing.
Yep.
Even if no one ever sees it, you just are like, this is bad, make a next one.
Yep.
It's fine. Do it.
Finishing is the hardest thing you'll do. Finishing a project, finishing a script, finishing a movie, short film, whatever. It's always very difficult. Yeah.
Okay. That being said,
negatives. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The writing wise, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what the theme is. I don't know what the message is. I don't know what the purpose is. All of the characters, there's no personality to any of the characters aside from the majority of the movie, and Bones for the end of the movie. A lot of, at least for the 4 main characters, there's no personality. They're making jokes that they shouldn't be doing. The jokes should have been made to fit their personality, not their personality to fit the jokes. Writing-wise, again, there's no theme, there's no message. Things are coming at the last minute. It's very thrown together with spit and glue. Nothing really kind of makes sense. We could dive deeper into the writing, but that'll take too long. But just the writing, don't really care for it, except for the crackhead energy for some of those bits.
The bits that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing.
Well, okay, the cinematography was rough. I mean, that just came from the fact that we did not have a dedicated camera person for a lot of it. Travis, Officer Hobbs, one of our actors, was the camera person, but sometimes he couldn't make it. Other times he was in a scene. So the camera was passed around between actors a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times it was, Jordan, you're not in the shot for this bit, you film it, or any one of us would it was all of us.
And none of us were dedicated to learning about cinematography. It was just point and shoot.
Yeah, no one, at this point still, I wasn't really considering myself, I was still an actor. Mm-hmm. So that makes it really difficult to have a consistent look in your movie. Mm-hmm. We had a camera that just wasn't technically amazing, and that mostly came from autofocus. So you'll notice a lot of the movie is all the movies are manual focus because autofocus is so unreliable. And that just means that everything is out of focus. Yep. Especially with how we shoot, where we like to move the camera, which I give us props for some of the camera movement. Mm-hmm. It's very kinetic and it's cool. But at the same time, it is not a strength that we had developed yet. So it meant a lot of our shots were just out of focus. Yep. And that was rough. And the same color grading right after that. The color grading just suffered a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of blown out colors and light. I think a lot of it could be tweaked, but a lot of it is just, again, no one knew enough technical camera stuff to know how to handle the situations we were in.
There are a couple of moments and scenes and shots that do look kind of good, but again, those are it's the color grading kind of ruined it and kind of didn't do any favors for it.
The best looking scene by far is the tent scene at the end.
Yeah.
That by far looks the best, and that's by the time. I mean, we were shooting mostly chronologically, so we had the most practice.
Yeah.
And so that helped us.
Yeah. I think another con would be, well, this depends on who you ask. I think a lot of the jokes are not very PC.
No.
Not very, it's very dated because we were dumb high schoolers. And so, I mean, I think if you watch our stuff, we're not very crude, rated R humor. And it's not, the movie isn't even rated R humor. It's just, I don't know, I think there's some
off-color
jokes that we would definitely not make today. And it's
it's a very high schooler mentality of trying to push it a little bit.
But also there was there's a thing in there, which I will address. There's a constant bringing up of the gay joke in the very beginning.
That's funny. Yeah.
Which this is a thing of the writing. So there's a running gay joke that the 4 main characters are like, other people are calling them gay because they're gonna get together and have a sleepover. Which the idea behind that kind of joke being a running thing was kind of like, I think for most young, at least young boys in America, like this is a shared experience where, or at least maybe not today, it might be a little bit different, but when we were growing up, it was like, if you did anything like not cool, you're gay.
Yeah.
If you're this, you're gay. If you're that, you're gay. And so that was the intention writing-wise behind a lot of that kind of stuff, where the joke wasn't necessarily like, haha, you're gay. The joke is like, oh, the joke was about people who call other people that.
Yeah.
Which just from a writing standpoint and performance standpoint, sometimes it just didn't land at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, be aware of the kind of jokes and kind of stuff you're making. But just, I mean, or just don't care. Like that's your prerogative too. Like, but yeah, I think there's a bunch of humor in the movie we would like probably not do today.
Nope.
Yeah. So yeah, if you see the movie and you're like, ooh, that's a little offensive. Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, we know.
We know. So what's another con?
Yeah, I mean, this comes back, I guess, to like a combination of like acting plus writing plus editing. This is kind of an all of it thing. Is like clarity.
Yeah.
In your actors speaking, in your dialogue. It's a very talky movie.
Yeah.
And I can't understand half of what we're saying.
Yeah.
I'm lost, and I was there.
I understood Tenet more than I understood this.
It's rough.
Yeah.
And that's just a thing of like, take time with your actors, like get it right. I think we had so much time. And I still feel like there were some days where we were just kind of like rushing, barreling through it because we could. And I mean, yeah, work quickly, but like don't be so slow you're not getting anything done. But take time to like stop and be like, whoa, this isn't. You'll thank yourself for slowing down because once and especially at this early stage, you like don't think about reshooting a lot.
Yeah.
You don't think about so many like correcting yourself because you don't want to second guess or whatever. It's a whole thing, and just basically don't be afraid to second guess and correct early on because it's going to be a huge headache. You'll end up with a movie like this where you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. Again, there's no clear. I mean, I guess there is a generic theme of like nostalgia and a regret, kind of, your expectations as a kid. But I mean, really, there's no overall message. There's no overall like.
We don't set things up well.
No, a lot of with humor and also kind of drama and kind of character arcs. It's like telling a joke. It's like you have the setup and you have the punchline. This movie is just, it doesn't work. I mean, there are times when you should put in the setup in your movie, and then there's times when you should pay it off. And in this movie, it's like they're happening right after each other for a lot of it. It just doesn't quite work character arc-wise and all that kind of stuff. Another con is the sound. The sound is, did you mention this?
Not really, no.
The sound is, I mean, again, we're using very terrible mic plugged into the camera.
Yep.
We didn't do any correction on it really, other than lower and raise the volume. The sound effects are there. The sound effects, I think some of them actually work fine, but they're so much louder than the rest of it. So some sound mixing would have been good, but also, me, I would have just said, hey, just dub everything. It will be so much better.
It would have been.
Yeah. And yeah, it's true. People will tolerate a bad looking movie as long as it sounds good, but they won't do the opposite.
Yeah. This movie does not have good looks, so.
Yeah, I know. So sound would have really helped for sure. What else?
I don't know. It's just very inconsistent as a whole. And that I think is where it feels really weird to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Like between shots, colors shifting dramatically, performances. I think we could have tightened the edit up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we did this thing a lot where whenever we would change angles on like a character would be talking, and we'd cut to like a wide from a close up, we'd let them they would say their line, and then in the wide we'd cut and they would keep saying their line.
Yeah.
And it was this weird thing of they already said that, but they're just saying it again.
Yeah.
And it's we could have trimmed a lot of it out, I think, if we just had been tighter on our edit.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to be cut your movie down.
Yeah.
And we did quite a bit of trimming still. I think we did an okay job.
We cut a lot.
We cut a lot out.
Because we improvised it. So there's a whole lot of stuff just laying around that we didn't use.
I just think we could have been more ruthless. But
this goes back to your clarity thing, but it's hard to sum up, but know how to tell a story visually. There's a sequence when we're supposed to be playing hide and seek.
Oh, yeah.
And the joke is supposed to be that, Bones is hiding in the closet. And then Ethan joins them. And then Wyatt joins them. And the three of you are all talking, and I'm supposed to be the one looking. And then I pop up, and it turns out the joke is haha, Jordan was there because he found all of them because they're talking. That there's a whole sequence that kind of follows after where that's supposed to be the idea, where the joke is that these people are talking when they're not supposed to be talking, they're hiding, but then the person who's looking for them eventually hides them. That is not conveyed at all. No. It just looks like the four of them are just talking and hanging out. You don't really get that they're playing hide and seek. So think about the shots you're going to use beforehand. Think about how they're going to read. And if it doesn't read, reshoot it. Change it up. Or add in a couple of extra shots that might make it a little more clear. I think some shots of the person who was the looker or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Shots of them looking throughout the house would have been that would have helped it probably a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just some things visually that don't make sense at all.
Yeah.
When they're supposed to make sense.
Yeah. Outside the crackhead energy.
Yeah.
Scapegoat.
Yeah. What else? What should people learn from this? We made this terrible movie.
Yeah.
We bore the weight of this atrocity.
And continue to.
And we're leaving it unlisted. We're leaving it public for the world to see. Why? What should people learn from this movie?
Learned that making a good movie is not easy, but
very important, yes.
Know that everyone sucks at it. Mm-hmm. So when you make a bad movie, it's all good. Yeah, that's fine. We all suck. You get infinite tries to do better. Mm-hmm. So just make the next one.
It's not it's not like we raised lots of money to make this piece of garbage. What we did this, I think, the right way. We did it for free. We didn't spend any money except on some pizza for food for feeding the crew, maybe some key props in there, but we did it for free. It cost us our summer, but it was a happy way to spend the summer, and we have fond memories of looking back at those at this time. I think I've said this before, but making a movie is a huge creative risk. Kind of like you said, it's really difficult to do. It's hard to pull off. Whenever a good movie is made, we should all be celebrating. Whenever a decent movie is made, whenever an okay movie is made, celebrate it. Because that is a huge achievement for everyone working involved, because it's a hard thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a creative risk. Don't make it a financial risk, because if we had spent thousands of dollars raising money for this thing, spending money on all this kind of stuff, and we go broke making this movie, that
would have been it.
That probably would have been it. That might have been it, because then it's we're broke. And it's that mentality, if you need money to make a movie, you don't need money to make a movie. And the time to stumble and fall when you're making a movie, make these mistakes, is when it costs no money. Mm-hmm. Because if you screw up, if you creatively fail on a project that costs, thousands, even hundreds of dollars, that's gonna be huge, such a huge discouraging kind of thing for you as a filmmaker. And you've wasted other people's money, other people's time, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Just take the money out of the equation. Do not spend thousands of dollars on your movie when you're just starting out. Even now, we've been doing this for how long?
Almost 8 years.
8 years.
I don't know.
We still don't spend that much money on our movies, and that's because We're not ready.
No.
We're honestly not ready. We don't, the kinds of stories we need to tell, we want to tell, don't cost thousands of dollars. We don't need all that money. And quite honestly, even if we had all that money, we don't really know what to do with all of it. I mean, we know what to do with it, but like, you know, managing all that kind of stuff and all that kind of different, that adds a new level of just complexity and just craziness to your production that you just don't need when you're first starting out.
Exactly.
So if you're going to make a feature, make it for free, make it cheap. Worst case scenario, turns out garbage, but it's not going to be worse than this. Definitely not going to be worse than this. Best case scenario, hey, maybe you submit it to a festival and you totally kill it and people love it. And bam, you're hired by like some producer or something. Or even better than that, throw it up on YouTube and people watch it. And isn't that the best reward of it all? Just people just watching your movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's great.
yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I don't really like Great American Sleepover very much.
Yeah.
If you do,
We kind of forget we have it.
if you do, you know, listen, if you do like Great American Sleepover, that's totally fine. Like, we're not like, we don't trash talk other filmmakers or anything. You'll never hear us saying that. But like, this is our movie. And for what we were trying to go for, we were like, we failed.
We missed the mark.
We missed the mark completely. But if you like it, I'm so happy you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it's great to know that it wasn't a complete waste of time for us. Yeah.
We'll always take compliments on our work.
Yeah,
But
sure.
we're always critical of ourselves
Yeah.
just to push ourselves. And yeah, I think, yeah. But, you know, it's a good movie for, you know, some bits of a learning experience.
Yeah.
And we'll take it for that. And other parts could be better.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Because we work on more movies. And
Yeah.
We've got things happening this year that are exciting. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. We make movies. If you've been sticking around, we're glad you're here. What's your favorite movie we've made so far? What are your movies that you make? We want to see them. Leave a comment down below if you make movies so we can check them out. We want to start shouting out some channels on here some point soon who are making movies. So, you know, leave a comment and we'll be happy to check out what you got.
Yeah. Up next on Filmmaker Hangout, we'll be watching Righteous Hombres.
That's one you got to check out.
Which, while it is a mess, it is a beautiful mess. And we love that movie. So
That's the opposite side of the coin of Great American Sleepover in a lot of ways, I feel like.
yeah, so check that one out and stay tuned for the next Filmmaker Hangout.
Yeah.